Hi, everyone. It's December 21st, 2023, and this is the weekly Backdrop Developer Meeting. We get together every week to talk about development priorities and tasks for Backdrop CMS. My name is Nate Lampton. I'm Quick Sketch on the internet, calling in from Oakland, California. We've got a mid-sized group today, and we'll do some introductions before we get started. Let's do round robin, and we'll start with Tim, and then we'll go to Herb.
Hello, my name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim in Deerwood, Minnesota, and have been busy in the issue queue lately. A little bit busy, not as busy as others. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Herb, and then Joseph.
Hi, I'm Herb Vanden Duel in Ontario, Canada, and Herb Duel on the internet, and supporting some 777 sites Backdrop right now.
Today. Great to see you here, Herb. Joseph, and then Jen.
I'm Joseph. I'm a developer from Las Vegas, Nevada, and just here to see what all is going on.
All right, thanks, Joseph. Jen, and then finally Justin.
Ben Lampton, joining from Oakland, California.
And go ahead, Justin.
Justin Kaiser from Muncie, Indiana, and I'm here because I've been out of the loop for a while, so I want to pay attention a little bit.
Excellent. It's a great meeting to drop in because it's the last one before the holidays, and possibly we'll see if a meeting happens next week. A lot of us are going to be tied up, but it's possibly the last big group, at least, before feature freeze for the 127 release. So we're definitely going to kind of take stock of where we are today. Before we get into individual topics, Jen usually walks us through Contrib news. Anything happening this week, Jen?
Yeah, I've got a couple of updates. We have a new contributor, Eric Atala. Has ported the name module and has an open application to join the group, which is great. And we have a couple of new contrib projects this week, Colectomy and Private Messages.
All right, great. I think we mentioned Private Messages last week, but
That's right. Today.
Oh, okay. Well, those new modules, when they come out, they have releases more frequently.
This is the first release.
We should mention that Herb just gave us a demo in the user group meeting of just a short 5-10 minute demo of the Private Messages module. So if you're interested, watch the video of the last meeting.
Yeah, great. Anything else to add, Herb?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, how much detail do you want?
Oh, no, I just saw that you unmuted. I thought that you had something to say about Private Messages.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just go right into the news du jour then. Lots of things. So yesterday, we had a release of the 126 branch of Backdrop. So 126.3 came out yesterday. That was a maintenance and bug fix release. The issue in particular I was concerned about was issue 6203, which is related to text formats and CKEditor, that switching between text formats, sometimes the settings would leak between different text editors. In the case of CKEditor 4 and CKEditor 5, the toolbar configuration is not compatible, but they both use the same toolbar key in their settings. And so when you switch between them, there would be some errors. So that issue clears the way for a little cleanup in core that we can make CKEditor 5 use the same key as CKEditor 4, and it won't conflict. So we may see some changes in core to take advantage of that little fix that went out in 126.3. Let's see, what else was in 126.3? It was a fairly small release, I think only about 10 issues. the PHP 8.3 compatibility was in that release. So now 126.3, you can use PHP 8. Let's see. Oh, there were 2 changes to the modules page. This has been kind of a fun, fun little side topic as of late. It's been how confusing uninstalling modules is. And we didn't change the process in any way, but there's 2 issues, issue 6309 and 3911. Both of them have to do with the uninstall page and how it works. And the first issue for adding help text on the uninstall modules page just lets people know that you have to disable a module before you can uninstall it. Like the steps, you have to uninstall first, and then disable first, and then you can go to the uninstall page to actually uninstall it. And then it also just says what uninstalling is actually going to do, where it drops its configuration and its database, but not the files. So that was a nice little improvement on things. And then 3911 followed up with, okay, maybe we should remind people to actually use the uninstall page because it's often overlooked. And so 3911 makes it so that when you turn off a module on the modules page, a status message then pops up saying, if you'd like to totally remove this module or uninstall this module, go over here to the uninstall modules page, which I think is a great enhancement. I mean, speaking personally, probably 2 out of 3 times when I turn off a module, I do not uninstall it, and I probably should.
Yeah, that was a good 2019 issue that it was fantastic. I'm very thrilled that got in.
Yeah, so that's nice. Nice little fix there. Also, in the world of just improving messages, one of Tim's issues that had been open since 2018 was also completed, which was change the wording of the maintenance mode message, where when you put the site into maintenance mode, it says your site is now in maintenance mode, and it has a link that says go online, and you click go online and
nothing happens.
And nothing
takes
happens.
You to another page.
It takes you to another page that then lets you turn off maintenance mode. And nowhere on that page does it say go online. And so it's like you get the mentality of go online. Yes, that's what I want to do. But then there's no go online button anywhere on the page it takes you to. So
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
I found it even more confusing. It's like, what? I'm online. How do I get to the website? I'm online. I don't even know what this button's telling me to do. So
yeah, I think we all had our reasons for not liking it. Not liking that. Yeah. I mentioned at one point that it might have been nice if the link actually just took you out of maintenance mode, but I think others had a better suggestion there. That's no, you really should probably be fully it needs its own page, because you need to tell people what is maintenance mode and why is it on and what will happen when you turn it off. And so there's a good reason for taking people to a dedicated page to turn it on or off. So anyway, nice little fixes there. Again, these are mostly messages and help text being added, but I also feel like these are the sort of things that we're really good at. After years of discussing how they should be done, of course. But yes, very exciting to get those things out and in the 126.3 release.
It only took about 5 years to change one word. Almost.
Yeah, well, we always can't decide what the word should be.
It's a lot trickier than it seems when you start. And so I'm not saying that as a criticism, because I hope our solution was better than what we would have come up with in a week.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think so. Okay, let's see. Topics for today. Herb brought up an issue that he would like to have looked at, issue 6208, add hook field schema alter. This is a cross port from 777, it looks like. And he's been working on it since this summer, but looks like we've had some recent discussion about it just here in the last week. Herb, do you want to, if you would, kind of summarize this issue again and what holdup it's currently facing, or what state it's in?
Yeah, well, I'll first talk about the value of it.
Mhm.
Well, it did come out in 777.99 recently. One of the values is to tweak any other modules or cores fields schema. The reason I got involved was to work on the porting date repeat. The date modules in backdrop core, but date repeat was left out. So if we took the same approach, we'd have to alter core date fields and add a field to it, or another column to the field, and yeah, that's what makes this PR makes that easier. It was a long 777 issue. It was for years, I think, and I think they finally, maybe because 777 is coming to an end, they decided, what the heck, let's do it. So.
It is a little bit funny you saying that, because you're right. It seems a little strange. So what had date repeat done up until this issue? Because date repeat has existed for a while, but this just got into 777.99, right?
Well, back when date was a contrib module, I think you ported a bunch of it into core. Date repeat was included with that module, so it actually included the date repeat columns in the date main module, so it didn't have to alter it. It wasn't fully separated between the submodules.
I see. I didn't realize that. Okay, that's interesting. So this makes it easier and more possible. So the date repeat module in Drupal didn't need this hook.
Didn't need it, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, cool.
Yeah, so some discussion about the impact, performance impact. To me, it seems like you think this hook would only be called when you're altering fields, but it seems to happen when you're adding the basic page, where adding it to the menu is automatic, which I think that's a backdrop specific functionality, right? When I looked at what's that?
There was a contrib module that did it in 777, but it wasn't part of core.
Right, so that's part of
auto
core.
menu something. Right.
So to me, it seems it's only coming from the admin bar links alert. So if you're adding a menu item, well, I guess it's any menu item. It doesn't have to be just creating content. It will trigger the system get requirements function, and then that will trigger all these other things to check the system for any issues, which results in an updated icon on the admin bar.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, we'll have to look through that a little bit. I thought that, yeah, I'll need to look into it more. I thought that the admin bar was actually done with a second HTTP request, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I thought the admin bar was loaded. Oh, you know what it is? It's the cache that's loaded.
It rebuilds the cache, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, but I think if there is no cache, then I think it loads in the main page. Okay.
Maybe it's a bigger. It doesn't really cause a big impact. Regardless, you need to have the administer site config, the permission, which not many people have. And-
Yeah, so because the little alert needs to actually show up.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, 6208, that issue, it's a port from Drupal that already gives it kind of just an advantage, because if it's good enough for Drupal, it's usually good enough for us as well. Okay. Let's see. We also had Andy join us. Welcome, Andy. Andy is Doc Beaumont.
Hello. Nice to
Hi,
be here
Andy.
for a change.
Yeah, great to have you here. Are there any topics that you'd like to discuss today, Andy?
Nah, not really. No.
Okay.
Probably are, but I can't think of anything. Just came from a busy day. My brain's not working. Just
Okay.
You know,
All
Nate,
right. Well,
maybe we could ask Andy to just give us a quick update on the D2B migrate module at some point, whenever you think that's right, if he's willing.
Oh, I could do that.
yeah. Yeah. If you're interested, Andy, now is actually a pretty good time before we get into 127 topics. So yeah, if you would like to give us a little update, that would be great.
Right. I guess hopefully everyone's familiar with that module. It started from a suggestion that somebody dropped somewhere in an issue or Zulip or something like that, and I thought we should try that. And then I think it took about 6 months or something for somebody to come up with a request for something similar, and I said, "Oh, I did that already." And I think Irina seems to really like the idea of this module. So the reason why I mentioned that is because to this date it's still a bit unfinished in my opinion, because it was just a quick idea. I didn't know if it would work. But we've had a few feature requests recently. I think Nate, we had a little bit of a group meeting about it, and there were some improvements to the UI that we requested. We've done some of that. Recently, Irina wants to be able to allow uploading files, which is what I've been working on. Do I need to describe what the module actually does, or is that important? So I might as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Essentially, what the module is, it allows you to have to convert a Drupal site through a backdrop site. So usually you would do everything manually. You would delete the files folder and you would upload the database, etc. But for this module, you get a backdrop site. It requires backup and migrate module, and that does most of the heavy lifting in the back. And so this module, D2B Migrate, allows you to start off with a backdrop site, and it gives you a sort of a wizard where you can connect to a Drupal database, see what modules are on that Drupal database, see which ones are available in backdrop, download them into that backdrop site. Optionally, download any of the managed files as well while you're in backdrop. And then when you're done, it swaps the Drupal database. It deletes the backdrop database on the site that you're on, puts in a Drupal database, and run update.php so that it converts that Drupal database into backdrop. So that's the whole plan for that module. It was requiring that you do an actual database connection. So you had to put in the database password and database user and so on to the source Drupal site. But Irina wanted you to be able to just upload MySQL, a database file instead. So that's what I've been working on. I've managed to find a couple. Just last night, I posted a solution to that. So instead of connecting to a database, you can now actually upload a database file, but it has to be one that's made from backup and migrate. But perhaps not absolutely necessary, but for now, it has to be a file that's created by backup and migrate. And to get that done, what I've done, I found a couple open source that SQL parsing utilities, two of them. One reads an SQL file and converts every line into an SQL command. So every line in the SQL file would turn out to be insert into database, whatever file, etc., etc. And another one takes SQL command and turns it into an array of data. So what I've done is that I've used the first one to read the SQL file, and then the second one to take each command that starts with insert into system. And that will be able to read which modules are enabled in the Drupal site. That's the summary of it. I hope you understand. It's a bit, probably I haven't explained it too well. But essentially, it seems like it works. I believe the two libraries that I found are open source, and the licensing should be fine to include it in the module. And so far, it seems to work. Somebody needs, I think Irina will probably test to see if it actually survives full testing. But it works on my local. So I just posted up just the early start of that version of it. I'll work on refining things later, and hopefully it satisfies the needs that Irina has. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Andy. Yeah, getting a D2B module up and running. I'm kind of like, would I use this? Maybe not. But having it so that Irina, who's a big advocate of it, has it available as a tool is a really great thing, because Irina is really passionate and fairly good at marketing, and she goes and presents places. And so I think what she really wants is she wants to be able to have this tool as a way to demonstrate it to Drupal users and give them an opportunity. She's not wrong that making user interfaces for things also makes things way more approachable than just run this MySQL command from the terminal. For a lot of our users, that can be intimidating. So yeah, I really appreciate the work that you've done on that.
Thanks. Early days though. Hopefully it'll be worthy of a release soon.
During office hours yesterday, we did a demo and a trial run. This would be before you did the last feature, so we didn't have that upload feature. And I was really impressed with the progress, and I plan to experiment with it some more. And Irina has plans to start going to camps and like training people on this. I think she's planning to go to Florida, Florida Drupal camp and mid camp next year, and be talking about this.
Yeah,
I should just say that it's really good to have somebody with her passion really working on something like this, because she gets a hold of it, and she makes something that sounded to me like just that could just be a toy, but it sounds like she makes it sound very useful, and I think she makes it sound she gives a different opinion, a different perspective on how other people use things from when I thought of it. So thank you to Irina for all her hard work.
Yeah, great. All right, great. We'll move on then. Let's start talking about Backdrop 127 and what we're looking at here towards feature freeze in 10 days, 11 days. All right. So the biggest news is issue 4122. That's the CK Editor 5 issue. CK Editor 5 module is now in core. Yay! So big effort there, getting that contrib module all set and getting it into a good place. And then with the review from Laren and Herb, and now Indigo Zella has looked at it again, we decided to move forward and put in that module. There's a bunch of follow-up issues now. Now that it's in core, there's some tasks that we can handle more easily than when it was in contrib. And so there's a whole set of little sub issues here. There's issue 6340. This is the most obvious next step, which is to turn on CKEditor 5 module out of the box and turn off CKEditor 4 out of the box. And this one I thought was going to be really trivial, and it is pretty trivial, but I didn't understand the way that hidden modules worked when I filed this pull request. So now we're going back and forth a little bit here about what to do with the CKEditor 4 module. That it's pretty easy for us to, in the standard install profile, turn off CKEditor 4, turn on CKEditor 5, and make it so that new sites get CKEditor 5. The thing that we're kind of stuck on is what to do with CKEditor 4. I put the title deprecated in the .info file so that the module now says deprecated on the modules page. But I marked the file or the module hidden with hidden equals true in the .info file, and I thought that it worked one way, and what I was thinking of is not the way that it works. That we actually have several hidden modules that are in core, like system module itself, node module, and fuse module, all of which are hidden modules that, if regardless of whether or not they're enabled or not, they never show up on the modules page. A hidden module is truly hidden. I thought that a hidden module would only be hidden if it was disabled, but turns out they're on all the time. So that does kind of raise the question of how do we want to handle CKEditor 4? The easiest thing to do would be to just leave it on the modules page all the time. And then you would just always see that there's CKEditor 4 and CKEditor 5 on the modules page. That would probably be fine. If anything, like, we could also just separate out, like, hide CKEditor 4 better, like, as a separate issue. I think you could probably form alter it maybe to, like, make it go away. But yeah, what we should do with CKEditor 4 as far as its visibility is kind of the holdup for issue 6340, which is make CKEditor 5 on by default. So maybe we'll kind of de-scope this one a little bit to just handle, like, let's just turn on the module, and then the more complicated behavior we can figure out later.
So, question 8. That all makes sense to me. Does, when you, with your change, will the deprecated show up on the modules page in the description?
Yes, it will still have deprecated next to it, because I think that might be important for people to know. We probably also can update the description on the mod, like, you know, the like when you open up the more toggle, the extended description of the module, it might be good to say, like, you know, use CKEditor 5 instead, sort of thing. Use only if needed for compatibility, something like that. Just my opinion, deprecated is a jargony word.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
The point was, I think there should be something visible on the modules page, right? You shouldn't have to go to the project page to see that. Like, just browsing through the module list, you should see that this is not recommended anymore.
Yeah, and I could imagine certain situations where people might not know, like, that they shouldn't use it, and then they could turn both of them on, and then it's just confusing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Other sub issues that spun out of CKEditor being in core. 6341. These are all right in order. 6340, 6341, 6342. But 6341 is this little issue that we had put a compatibility file in the CKEditor 5 module, because CKEditor 4 ironically conflicted with it. And this one little change makes it so that the default behavior of CKEditor 4 is modified in a way that doesn't conflict with 5. And so this moves the temporary fix out of the 5 module and just puts it into the 4 module. Now that both modules are in core, making that change is a lot easier because it's all in one place. That issue looks like it's already been marked RTBC. That's great. And then the last one is 6342, which is telemetry module reporting for CKEditor 4 versus 5. And I tried to summarize this issue here about what we're doing exactly, and that we're using telemetry to report back to backdropcms.org the version of CKEditor that you're running. And we do that both for CKEditor 4 and for CKEditor 5. And I think our intention is that we would be able to tell how many sites are running 4 versus how many are running 5 from the telemetry data that we're being sent. But the telemetry data we're sending so far isn't really useful telemetry data, because what it's actually reporting is the exact version of CKEditor 4, like 4.18.0 is the current version, or the version of CKEditor 5. The version of CKEditor 5 that we're running is 40.2.0. Both of the modules are reporting this library information, but it's not in comparison to each other. And so we can't take the data that's there, at least in the relatively simple capabilities of telemetry module on the server side, and say how many sites are running 4 versus how many are running 5. And most of all, how many sites are running both 4 and 5 at the same time. So, so this issue 6342 adds a new telemetry entry, and instead of it being in either module, which makes it complicated to track whether or not, like, which one is on and which one's doing the reporting, does one alter the other one? Instead, it just puts the reporting in telemetry module itself and just says, does CKEditor 4 exist? Does CKEditor 5 exist? And do they both exist at the same time? And then reports one of those 3 options. So it's a pretty simple implementation. I think we need to verify that that's exactly the data that we want. Indigo Zella raised that we could also report sites that are running neither as a 4th option. And yeah, that's a question of, do we want that information as well?
I think it'd be interesting to see, like, if people are turning it off entirely.
Mm-hmm. I also had floated at one point that we could potentially have a separate telemetry report from filter module that is stuff like, what are all text editors being used? You could use hook editor info and detect if there were other editors on the site as well, like BU editor or TinyMCE, or some other option, or none at all. And then you could report that information out as a separate telemetry item. So I don't know, there's like, maybe that might provide the need better, and maybe this can just do 4 or 5 versus both. I don't know, the none option is kind of interesting to me. But in any case, this won't deal with like other text editors, because none might actually mean something else as opposed to no text editor at all. I think that's probably likely, actually. But anyway, that issue is open for discussion. And the other thing that I know for sure we need to do around CKEditor is we need to write the change record for it. There is a blog post kind of walking through the outline of the plan and everything like that. Maybe actually I should go back and edit that blog post to say that, it's progressed and now CKEditor 5 is officially in core. Tim, I didn't check if the dashboard did that get
Yes.
posted out? Oh, great.
Yes. On the dashboard, there's in the news or whatever, there's a link to the blog post about CK Editor 5.
Great. All right. So that's the big thing, the big news for today, and probably for the 127 release. There was one other issue. I don't think that this happened before last meeting, but issue 4029, the add user account compare visibility rule was completed as well. Let's see, that was on the 15th. Yeah, so that was the day after yesterday's meeting. So yes, there's also that little new feature to layout module that makes it so you can now compare a user account from the URL to the current user account to show or hide individual blocks or entire layouts. So that's a nice little enhancement as well. We have some other things that are kind of in flight for 127 as well. Unclear if they're going to make it as things are right now. There's issue 214 to remove IE specific libraries. This issue has been de-scoped a little bit too, where now it's literally just removing one library, the HTML5 Shiv library. That's all that it does at this point, because that was the only really truly backwards compatible thing that we could do easily. So that issue would be nice to take a look at. A little bit of a non sequitur related to this and related to dropping IE support totally. I looked briefly for it, but I didn't see anything about upgrading our Bootstrap library. The version of Bootstrap that we're running is an odd version. It's not even a final release of Bootstrap because we wanted at the time to provide IE support, but this was back in 2015 when we first added Bootstrap. And so our version of Bootstrap, we could potentially upgrade at least to a stable version.
Breaking changes because they renamed the classes between Bootstrap 4 when we added it and Bootstrap 4 when it came out.
Right.
We couldn't just upgrade it. We'd have to also add a backwards compatibility layer that would have the classes that we have now map to something that exists in the library.
Yeah. Have we actually done an audit on that? Yeah, to see what kind of changes we're talking about.
Yeah, I think there's an issue somewhere. I'll go see if I can dig it up.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it right away. Okay, well that's probably not a 127 issue. Well, definitely not a 127 issue, but the 214 is just removing the HTML5 Shiv. Let's see, there was one other. The issue to have swappable config backends. Here we go, issue 2277. This one also, we're kind of slowly moving forward on it. This pull request has been in a shape that actually works. It makes it so you can in fact swap the config backend to use the database instead of JSON files on disk. But it hadn't been updated in a long time, and so I rebased it against 1.x to pull everything new that's in 1.x into this pull request, so it's up to date. And then I tried to work a little bit on getting the tests running, and it's a little challenging because Backdrop needs to be installed before it can run the tests, and the config is something that needs to be in settings.php. It's not something that you can change after Backdrop has been installed. We need to actually install Backdrop with the database config in order to run the tests with the database config. And so that means that with our current infrastructure, we think a good approach would be to add an additional run of the test suite that is using the database-driven configuration. So there's the normal test suite that runs against 3 different PHP versions. And then we would also run a separate set of tests that is the database-driven config installation, and maybe it just runs a subset of the tests instead of literally every test in the whole suite. So that's what the pull request at the 4608 is the pull request number. It adds a start to test coverage, but there's a number of issues. It's not fully running the tests. We're having some issues with PHP 5.6. I think that maybe my splitting out of my abstraction of like the GitHub Actions YAML file maybe isn't 100% correct, but it kind of gets a start. It's like conceptually, I think that that's the direction that we want to head. It's not fully working yet. We did also find once they had the tests actually running, we actually also found an issue or two with the pull request. So yay, test coverage once again finds actual bugs. So that's great as well. So that issue, I don't know. It's running out of time for sure. It doesn't actually have an advocate, and it's not in the milestone, but it's something that seemed like it would be possible for us to complete before the release, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So if anybody's interested in helping on that one, that would be appreciated. There's going to be a lot of futzing with GitHub Actions. That's our holdup. Okay. I think that's kind of all I want to talk about as far as like major topics are concerned. There is the details element issue as well, issue 5090. This is Gregory's passion project right now, Clonos. But I don't know, it hasn't seen any real changes here in at least a couple months, at least a couple weeks, maybe a month or more. And so I don't know, I'm skeptical that one will come together in time, but it's possible. But I think that's it. 127, we're really looking like, the SIG editor upgrade is going to be the really big ticket item for this release. But we still have time to get in a couple more small things as well. If there's things that people are really pushing for yet, we still have 10 days before feature freeze. And because next week we may not reconvene, I'll reiterate when feature freeze actually occurs. Because Monday, January 1st is a holiday, we usually extend feature freeze until the end of the holiday. I guess that means that it doesn't actually change for this one, because feature freeze isn't the end of the second, it's the end of the first, it's the end of the holiday. So January 1st at midnight, somewhere in the world, is our feature freeze date for 127. All right, we're right at the top of the hour here. Does anyone have any other topics or last minute items to bring up? Okay. All right, everybody. Well, then I guess we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks, everybody, for your recent work on issues, both in core and in contrib. And yeah, I'm excited to bring in the new year with yet another new release of Backtalk Core. Okay.